Both your parents are super smart, right?
Yeah, both my parents are PhDs. Yeah, PhD scientists. I'm the piece of shit with a BA.
Is this where you get the unraveling from? Did they teach you like this? Did they talk to you about these things?
I had a lot of. So I had a really science-filled childhood, but I was also a super ADD kid, and I couldn't keep my head on straight. So they wrote me. No, they didn't write me off, but I was like, they weren't like this kid's gonna make it in academia. But I spent a lot of time watching like kids science shows and things like that, which ended up I realized only after I created the show I was like, oh, this show is like Beekman's World. I don't know if you guys remember Beekman's World, but I realized afterwards I was like, this is really profoundly influeed. Like I zip in, we do sound effects for every little thing,
Are they impressed? Do you ever call them?
Do I ever call Beekman's World? No. That was literally my first thought. Does my father Beekman ever tell me he loves me? Not yet. Yes, my parents are impressed.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And do you ever get story ideas from them at all? Do they ever give you 2 cents on that?
I gotta tell you, almost the opposite. We did an episode on science, which is one I'm very proud of because I love science. It's dear to my heart, and it's about systemic problems in science, with science funding and with overuse of mouse models. Like they use mice for too many things and stuff like that. And I watched it with my dad, who's an administrator at a PhD and a vice president at the University of Oregon. And I watched it with my sister, who's a PhD in nuclear physics and a journalist at the wonderful magazine Science News, really good outlet if you guys like learn about science. And I watched it with them. And then afterwards, they looked at me and they were like, you really simplified a lot of stuff in this. And I was like, no, I don't want to hear it. Don't do it. Just tell me, good job. I was like sitting there watching them during the episode as they were like, I don't know. Yeah, kind of painting with a broad brush. Like my dad. We're talking about problems in science funding and the NSF and corporate and billionaire funding of science and the problem with that. My dad worked at the NSF and gave grants, and he was like, no, it's a good system. I was like, here's the thing: when people are so close to something I hear a lot is. Oh, Adam Ruins Everything is a great show until he does something that you know about, right? And like, yeah, I'm sorry that in 6 minutes we didn't manage to like meet the standards of your like fucking PhD, right?
God damn it, people get so excited. That's one of the biggest problems with the internet is people get so fucking excited when the ocean of everyone dwelling together accidentally runs over a single goddamn thing about that's important to them. It's like, just be excited about that. Don't get mad about it.
Yeah,
God damn it, you mentioned the Pixies. Oh fuck, I saw their last concert. They think it's so fun. They're like, oh my God, I'm the person here.
I mean, we did this thing on mouse models, which is that mice and rats are overused in medical testing and science, and the reason is because the models it's very easy to get the mice, it's cost effective, and it's replicable. You can do it over and over again, and it's like easy to get funding to do that, right?
Something.
But there are problems with it.
My dad told me about that. My dad's not a scientist,
sure.
But he told me he said, those rats are bred for cancer.
That's the thing that people say.
What do you mean? It's like, well, the rats are now easier to give cancer because all they get is cancer.
Yeah.
I just remember that from when I was like 8.
That's kind of broadly true. I mean, it's like there's such specific populations, right? Because they're trying to reduce the number of variables, right? When they're testing. But as a result, their findings then become like really, really narrow and just, we talked to a fucking cancer scientist who says, hey, we shouldn't be using mice quite this much, right? It's a systemic problem in science. And on, Reddit, we got so many people saying, I am a scientist who uses mice and he doesn't know anything about mice and I use mice very well, And the thing is, from their vantage point where they are at their particular postgrad program at the University of whatever doing their work, like they have such a specific, their whole lives are their little corner of it, like sort of writ large. And I'm doing an overview for a general population of the field from 10,000 feet up, right? And so like those, even though we're talking about the same thing, our perspectives are so different that like they can't quite go together, and
Do you
they
think
have
there would
that
be a
strong
version
reaction.
of an episode? I'm going back to your parents thing. Is there a version of an episode where you ruin the child-parent relationship, which is to say, on both sides, because sometimes I feel at 46, like I look back on a lifetime of kind of like symbolizing them. I go like, oh, my mom said this, my dad said that, and I just told that story about my dad saying that. It's like it's so easy to want them to be wrong and all this stuff, and like I guess I'm fascinated by this concept. Like Schraub used to tell me this story. Schraub's gonna grow up to be a God knows what. He hasn't grown up yet. No, Schraub grows up to be a comic book artist, right? So Schraub has these stories like when we're like 20 and we're hanging out. And Schraub remembers being a kid, and your mom hid your comic books, and she didn't have the right.
I had a comic book, Ranzerax, and it had it had some racy. It was kind of like a heavy metal kind of a sci-fi book, and there was like some naked nudity in there.
Hell yeah,
and violence.
Best kind.
I guess I've got to. I guess to skip ahead of it, I'm wondering, like do we, when we, I always, because I watch these true crime things, and then like people are so fascinated, they go like, oh, Ted Bundy's parents were like this. I'm like, according to who? Fucking Ted Bundy? What the fuck do you trust him for?
Are you saying Ted Bundy? Are you comparing me to Ted Bundy?
Yes, I am.
What the fuck?
I think if you had slightly less of a support system. No, what I'm saying is, do we as adults, like, I wonder what field of psychology, like studies this, like the idea of like I picture it like a boat's wake, like to what extent. I know it's like nature versus nurture is a thing, but I'm saying like people, like we tend to interview people about their childhoods. We go like, oh, hey, so-and-so, what do you remember about your childhood? Well, my mom was always very encouraging about the alphabet. Oh, really? That's weird because your life ended up being about the fucking alphabet, you alphabet scientist. But guess what you erased from your brain? Your mom like washing your dick too hard in the bathtub? We don't know. Like, how do we know whether washing your dick really hard makes you into the alphabet? Like, we're going to lose that stuff because we have this like fixation on this idea of the truth, like this biographical truth. Like,
why didn't you become a dick washing scientist who studies dick washing?
We think that's how it is, but like, have you touched on any area of that?
We haven't done parenting.
Have you done that episode?
Well, there's a lot there.
There's a lot to unpack.
We've never done parenting specifically because we've tracked Emily and Murph throughout the stages of life. So they get engaged, and we did an episode about their engagement. We did an episode of Adam Ruin's weddings. We did an episode about having a baby, right? And then we decided at the end, we sort of had a very soft, our message at the end of that was like, hey, you don't have to have a kid, right? That was sort of trying to take that shame off, that pressure off of people.
It's not your chance to make the world a better place.
To have a kid, you mean?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean that's certainly my perspective is that like I don't think there's a moral imperative to have children personally, and if people want to have them, great, but I don't think it's like a thing that we have to do, right? So at the end we have Emily and Murph decide to wait, and so they don't have kids, and so but maybe one day, God willing, if we keep going, we'll do that episode. But I don't know. I feel like the amount of like the fucking butterfly effect of parenting is so vast that I feel like almost the worst part about it as a parent, I can't imagine having to live with that because you feel like, oh, everything I do is gonna be like that fucking Simpsons episode where suddenly they turn into some kind of weird monster because I do XYZ, but it's completely unpredictable and you actually have almost no control over it at all. Like all the things that I talked to my therapist about my parents doing X, Y, or Z. None of it's particularly bad, but the things that did affect me are things that I know that they never even thought about, or that they were just tiny little quirks of their personality that were just like a little bit too harsh about this or a little bit too loose about that,
but more
or
importantly, and this is the thing that plagues me is don't you think it's possible that there's moments where they're like, by the way, all that other shit that you're gonna remember. That's all bull. I'm so sorry I came off that way earlier today. Adam, you got to remember it's so important that mice are overused or whatever the thing is, whatever, and that it just didn't serve your your adult brain, your developing brains. It's like you create this like rocket thrust behind you where you go, why am I who I am? And the memories that don't serve that narrative, they just drift away.
Yeah.
Old man Withers down the street was racist, and that's why I'm not. And I decided that, and so I forgot that old man Withers saved the space lab from. I'm not going to riff a narrative. I'm already halfway into one. I might as well complete it. He saved space lab with his racism. I don't know. That's in that case, old man Withers was still racist. I don't know why
Yeah, there's this conflict because I believe. What's going on back there?
Can't you guys just?
Is it on a loop or something?
What's going on? I believe
it's just that every
that,
time it happens, everyone feels like they have to react.
The weird.
I would just put it on like a video of a badger rotting or something. Anything is
like a fast motion.
Just let them
video
get
of a
used to
badger rotting.
something.
I'm curious. I'm actually curious what you'll say to this because one of my beliefs, and I've read your writing on story structure and stuff, and I love it. But one of the things that I believe is that real life is not story shaped. That people's lives are not actually stories, and that's something that we impose onto them. And that we actually have an upcoming episode. Our season finale is going to be about exactly this problem because on our show we use stories in the way that I described to give people information. But in reality, the real world is not story shaped, right? Like we tell our 3-beat story about Teddy Roosevelt's life,
right.
But Teddy Roosevelt did not have a story like that to his life. That's something I imposed on it, right?
Right.
And so to the extent that we're using those stories, we get further from the truth, and I think we do that for our own lives as well. But at the same time,
human life and human society definitely not story shaped because it's slop-a-doodle. Because the only things that are story shaped are like the day, because the sun comes up and goes down,
sure.
So you can always rely on that. And like the seasons and life and death and the kind of like general nature of how this too shall pass. Like you're mad at this person today. Maybe you're mad at them because you love them. You're going to find that out later. Like those kind of like those things that aren't pollutable by the fact that everyone else is going through them all at the same time. That creates static. But the individual signals, I think, if to the extent that it's possible to have an individual have a relationship with the universe, I think that the story structure holds true. I think that nature and
I just said boom.
Oh, okay.
Take that, Adam.
But I do know exactly what you're talking about because then what we have to do is function together, and then we go, oh, Teddy Roosevelt, lesson you learned there. Don't dig a canal unless you want malaria. and then someone else is like, well, actually, and we're like, you're actualing me. And my story is about crossing the threshold of learning what actualing is. And everyone's right and everyone's wrong because it's like static. It's like all signals and it just creates static. But your heart is beating every beat. A muscle like crosses. It is a 4-act story. Right. It's a 4-chambered heart.
But my believe I agree with that, except that I believe that's like a structure. That's a structure that we impose, right? That's a structure. Like I believe the story is a structure of the mind, not of the universe, right? If humanity was wiped out, nobody would care. There would be nobody to care about anything. There would be no, sort of like the sun would be revolving, but there'd be no vantage point from which it would rise and set, right? There would be no one to observe it rising and setting.
No, yeah, this is absolutely about the experience of being sentient. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's what I bump into because I'm most interested in is understanding the universe as it truly is, right? This is fucking. I'm just gonna nosedive into Kant here, but like what I'm really interested in understanding the world as it truly is, and to the extent that I am imposing my own structure on it, that's an extent to which I don't truly understand it as it is, and it seems like the story is like such a deep. Piece of how we think, deep like characteristic of how we think that we can't escape it, even as it distorts the world that we're trying to observe.
Yeah, I mean, geez.
There is that idea that the only footage that is real documentary footage is surveillance footage. Because those people are unaffected because the camera's not in plain view.
But but what about actually? But like the camera was mounted in suspicion. It was mounted by Macy's because Macy's didn't want their parking lot robbed. It was
there was a choice made by where to put it.
Everything that the human sentience touches, it creates a perspective and a flavor. I think if there's a way to look at that to defeat yourself and go, oh, so all I am is a conscious monkey that's just like projecting an illusion onto a chaotic universe.
Conscious monkey.
But can't you just flip that and go, well, flip the telescope, look through the big end and into the monkey and go, no,
the monkey is tiny.
yes, he is. Very tiny. And the universe's point is that monkey for the time being, according to that monkey. And that's what the monkey needs to know to actually understand the universe. Because as far as a monkey's relationship with the universe, the only thing that's going to possibly benefit the monkey is through that telescope, even though it's absolutely a fraudulent telescope, because the monkey understanding what the Milky Way thinks won't help the monkey, and the milk and it won't. It's like I don't know. I'm scared. You're scaring me. I'm like panicking. I'm like flailing and going like, look, listen, Adam. All we have to do is make good television and then die.
I agree with that. I agree with that
I
statement
accept
as
that
well.
buying a Tesla didn't help the Earth. This is as much quarter as I give you.
I mean, I agree with that last statement. All you have to do is make good television, then die. I mean, when I make my show, I'm like that's me trying to work that shit out. You know, like, well, our season finale this year is literally us like grappling with those issues, right? And the issues of like, is the structure of our show make our show less true?
Oh my god, that's
Right?
I mean, it's my new favorite show. I'm gonna like watch it.
Thank you. Oh my gosh.
Because it's fucking meta in the best way.
Thank you.
You should ruin the word meta. It's a Greek prefix. It means nothing. It means beyond. It shores up the fourth wall. It makes you identify with characters. Do all kinds of stuff like that. You also have an offshoot that's like an animated thing where you just investigate history. Right?
We did animated episodes, that were called Reanimated History, and they were specifically it was the network wanted more episodes in less time, and they were like, and they were like, you shoot all year. What if we do animated episodes? And I said, maybe, and they said, great, yes, and then we did them, and they came out quite well. It's like we ended up creating an entirely different format for them, where it's me interacting with a narrator.
I heard Chris Parnell's voice in there. Yeah.
Chris Parnell is the voice of it, which was incredible to.
So
have him.
if you're going through Rick and Morty withdrawals, you can listen to Jerry narrate history while an animated Adam ruins it for him.
Yeah.
But I really recommend this show.
Thank you.
It's one of those things where it's like easy to recommend because just watch 10 minutes of it. It's like a grape or a crack rock. Like you're in or you're out.
You will sell all of your shit and lose your teeth over this show.
Oh man, grapes will get you.
That's what grapes do to me. Oh man.